So before you can even begin your makeup, the first thing you're going to want to do is skin prep. So usually what this consists of is washing your face in some sort of way. Now I know you'll be traveling, you'll be not in your bathroom at home. Usually you'll be ending rehearsals and then going straight into doing your hair and makeup. So it's really important that you kind of cleanse off any dirt and sweat that you might have accumulated over practice. There's different types of face washes that come in, travel size. I've even used some that look like tiny little pieces of paper, and all you do is you put in your hand, put some water in it, and it turns into a nice gel that you can clean your face with. And then another option that you could use is maybe some face wipes, not makeup wipes, but like actual face cleansing wipes or anything of that sort, baby wipes. Even just going into the bathroom real quick, splashing some water on your face, wiping it down will help a lot. Next thing that you'll need to do is some sort of moisturizer. This can be in the form of some kind of face lotion, moisturizing toner, which is what I've already used on my skin, moisturizing sunscreen, especially if you're going to be performing outside at any point during the middle of the day. It's important to factor in having sunscreen. The third step is I will put on some kind of lip balm. This can be just like a regular chapstick. This can also be something like Vaseline or Aquaphor. It can be anything as long as you get that moisture in your lips before you start your makeup. This is because I usually end my makeup by doing some kind of lip product, lipstick, something of that sort. We want everything to sit on our lips and moisturize and have time to set into our lips long before we get to the stage of putting on lip products. And now the very last step before you start putting on any makeup is to use some sort of primer. If you find that your makeup is slipping off, you're always sweating and it comes off first thing, and you're not using any kind of primer, that's more than likely why. Never ever skip your primer before you put your foundation on. Now, there's different types of primers. The one that I always use for performance is something that says long lasting or sticky, things that you know are going to help longevity in your makeup. So I washed my skin, I have put on some moisturizing toner, I'm about to put my chapstick on. And now I'm going to put on my primer. The one that I've been using for years now is the e.l.f. Primer Grip Primer. I think this one does a great job keeping everything in place and make sure I get all parts of my face and my chin. All right, now we're gonna do our foundation. It is important to choose a foundation that advertises that it's long wearing. This is because if you just choose just any foundation, you can't expect for it to last for an entire performance, because we're putting more wear and tear on our face than you would if you were just sitting inside of a building not doing anything. We're running, we're jumping, we're sweating, we're touching our faces, we're touching other people, we have flags and rifles and other things that might come in contact with our face and our neck and things around us, and it's just important that we are choosing our foundation really smartly. Next thing is that you want the finish of your foundation to be something that's not going to come across as oily on your skin. So when we're in front of bright lights, if you choose a foundation that's maybe more of the brightening kind, or something that says it's illuminating, anything of that sort, what happens under bright lights or mixed in with some oil and sweat from warm up and things like that, it's going to come across as your face being really, really oily and sweaty. What we want to do to combat that is to use either a natural finish foundation or a matte finish, just to make sure that we're not leaving any room for our face to look like it's too oily and wet. Now when you're applying your foundation, you can either kind of just squirt it on the back of your hands and then use your brush to apply it to your face, or even a beauty blender, or you can just put it directly on your face. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to do what I usually do for shows, because I'm in a time pinch and I want to get things done quickly. I also don't want to have to worry about getting my makeup on my clothes or on my costume. So I'm just going to quickly add some to my face. I'm going to start blending with a brush just so I can spread the product out all over my face, and then I'm going to finish with a beauty blender. Now this looks really pale on my face, and that is because I'm going for the color of the neck, because I'm trying to match that. And also keeping in mind that I'm going to be incorporating bronzer and blush and things of that sort, so my foundation is not what the final shade is going to look like. And now I'm just taking my sponge and just lightly tapping all over my skin. You never want to rub your skin when you're using any kind of sponge, because it's just going to pull it off your face. Since I'm doing this really fast, and typically when you're doing your makeup for shows it's pretty fast, I'm just doing quick little bounces, tapping it in and making sure that I'm really pressing it in there and then I'm not scraping. Also notice how I'm lifting my hair back so that I can get it all the way up into my hairline. I'm even touching my hair while I'm doing this. And this is because you don't want anything like this where you can kind of see where I haven't gone yet, where there's a line. So we want to make sure that we cover that up and it looks like our skin and the foundation are one. Even blending it up into the ears, that way everything looks nice and seamless. I'm getting around my eyes and I'm making sure that I'm getting all the surfaces of my skin and that I'm not leaving any surface kind of untouched by my foundation. I'm even going over my eyebrows. Make sure you get underneath the little folds of your nose, up the middle, down to your lips. Now, depending on if your foundation shade is too dark, you might need to bring it down into your neck and your chest area just to make sure that it doesn't look too dark and then too light. Obviously, if you have a high neck costume, that won't really apply. You might just want to go underneath your jaw a little bit just to make sure any chin lift or anything like that, you don't have spaces that are untouched. Now we're looking for a full coverage look. For the foundation I just used, it's a little bit of like a medium coverage, but we want full coverage. So you can either use a foundation that's full coverage to start with and then you don't have to do extra layering. For me, I want just a little bit of extra layer on the middle of my face, so I'm just going to add that real quick and blend it out. If you are doing this layering type technique, it's important to do nice light layers. You can always add more. It's a lot harder to take away, and it's a lot harder when your makeup starts to look really cakey because you just put too much on. Okay, next step is to use a concealer. So when I'm adding my concealer, I just kind of dot it into my inner corners here. Add just a dot in the forehead to thicken things up and brighten. Same on the chin. And then if you have any remaining red spots or acne, you can cover that up as well. Now that it's on my skin, I like to use like a little concealer brush. You can also use your fingertips, and I'm going to kind of spread it into the areas that I want it, because we're going to let it sit on our skin for about 60 seconds. The reason why we let it sit for just a little bit of time is to help it set into your skin. The longer that you let it set into your skin, the less product comes up when you go to blend it out. So if you've ever put concealer on your face and you've blended it out immediately and it just comes right off, it's usually because you're not letting it sit for long enough time. Okay, so I've let it sit, and now I'm going to take my sponge. You can also use a concealer brush and blend it out, and I'm just tapping it in, again, not rubbing. Alright, now we're going to move into blush and bronzer. Different programs might require different things, so just make sure you're following your specific makeup guidelines when it comes to how to do your blush and bronzer. Now, when I'm doing blush and bronzer, there's a couple of things that I like to keep in mind. Number one, if you are using some kind of like cream or liquid product, after you do that, you set it with a actual powder product. If you're just putting cream on top of cream on top of cream, it's still kind of loose and in its liquid state. Whenever you start to sweat, it's going to start to melt off, and blush and bronzer are usually the first things to come off your face when you're performing. So for example, if I were to put a cream blush on, then I'm going to want to go in and put a powder blush on top just to make sure that I set the cream color with a powder color. The thing that I want to talk about is never ever skipping this step unless it's specified that you need to skip this step for whatever makeup you're doing. If you look at my face now, I've done my foundation and my concealer. If I were super far away and these lights were a lot brighter, you wouldn't really be able to see any facial features besides my eyes. So that's why it's important to add not only bronzer but also blush. We want to warm up the face, but we also want to start pulling out where those features are. We have to add our facial features back on so that you can see it from a distance. So I will start by tapping, and then I'll kind of swirl very lightly over it. When you're doing anything with powder products, you always want to have a very gentle hand. It's going to make blending a lot harder when you're packing things in very aggressively versus adding some product very lightly and then having the ability to go over and blend it out. I'm going to start on my forehead. For me, I like to just go all the way across kind of into my hairline, and then I like to go along my cheekbone, a little bit along my jaw, and then down the sides of my nose. I'm going to start by pressing it into my forehead. See how that's kind of a lot and it's not blended? After I've kind of pressed, I will swirl around very lightly and gently, blending things out. And just like with the foundation, I'm going up into my hair. That way we don't see a weird seam between the end of your makeup and where your hair starts. I've done this side of my forehead, and now I'm going to do the other half of my product. Pack it on a little bit, and now I'm going to swirl it. Find where the natural shadow is. It's about here, and so I'm going to put it here. We want them to look nice and high. We also want them to look defined. I'm going to use the duck. And that's where I can find the natural shadow, and I'm putting it right above it and in it, not starting there and going lower. So I'm pressing it in, and then I'm going to do more swirling motions to blend it out. So again, on this side, I see where the natural shadow kind of is, then I'm going to use the duck to find where that needs to go. Another helpful tip about doing kind of that duck face is that it kind of tightens the skin on your cheek and it makes it easier to blend. And now I'm going to kind of blend from where the end of this is up into my forehead a little bit so that there's not a weird gap. And again, always going into the hairline. Now for the nose, I like to just take my brush, and for time's sake for me, I just kind of brush it on the sides. But I'm really just trying to keep it right on the sides and making sure that everything is blended out, and then I kind of brush it underneath, maybe just a little bit on the sides of your jaws. So I'm just going to bronze right over where my jaw comes in, and a little bit up onto my chin as well. The next step that I like to do is blush. This is really important. When you're performing, we need to see where those cheekbones are. So I have a nice big fluffy brush. This is what I like to use for my blush. I'm going to pick up some of that product, and when I'm choosing the placement for my blush, again, we're trying to picture where our actual cheeks are. So what I like to do is I just kind of like to pinch the corners of my mouth, and then I can kind of see right there, the apple of your cheek, that's where mine is. So I like to take the majority of my product and just go right on it. And then from there, I like to blend it up. Now some extra things that I like to do, not necessary if you don't like the way this looks on you, but I like to carry it just across my nose, just to blend it out. I'm not adding any product, this is just the same brush that I've been using. Add a little bit to my chin, and then drag a little bit up into my forehead. That way everything starts to look really seamless. And the last step is to use a powder. I suggest using a loose powder, so that means something that kind of looks like this in a loose form, but you can also use something like this. So something in like a pan like this, where it's a little bit more compact. So for this, you can either use just like a regular brush, or I like to use just a little sponge. I'm pressing it into the powder. I'm just going to tap some of it off, and then I'm going to just start packing it in underneath my eyes, and then add underneath my eyes, and I like to go all the way up. So I'm going to take whatever is left over and just tap along my nose. I'm going to take some more, tap it in, tap excess off, and then go across my forehead. Take some, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go underneath my jaw and almost kind of draw like a line underneath where I added my bronzer, and it kind of makes my makeup look a little bit sharper. Go across my chin and under my nose. So when I'm using a loose powder, I like to let it sit for just a couple seconds. For time's sake of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and brush it off. Okay, so now you can kind of tell from my initial blush and bronzer placement that things have been toned down a little bit. I want to go in and just add a little bit more. This next part is eyebrows. I think that it's really important, just like what I said about the bronzer and blush. Your eyebrows are really important to your facial features. What performing is just incorporating your eyebrows, and if you don't fill them in, especially if you have light colored eyebrows, your facial features aren't going to come across the way that you want them to. The easiest way, in my opinion, to do it is just take a tinted brow gel and comb it through. There's also different products that you can use, like pomades and powders and pencils and things like that are easy just to swipe in real quick. So I'm just going to brush it through. Now for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and finish out my eyes and my lips and everything else, and then I'll catch you on the back side to show you how I finish off my makeup to make sure that it lasts the whole performance. So I finished out the rest of my makeup. I did my eyes and my lips, and I'm going to do my highlight. If I have put only powder products on my face, I don't want to then go in with a cream or a stick or any kind of liquid on top, so I would opt for some kind of powder highlighter. I'm going to take my highlighter brush, dip into my product, make sure I have some on top, line it up right where the light's naturally hitting my cheekbone, and just enhance that a little bit. And then you can bring it up and down, and it just adds a nice little glowy pop there. I can just gently go back and forth, and I can just brush some on top. I also like to do a little brush on the tip of my nose and down the middle, and then a little bit on my cupid's bow. I also like to dip a little bit and put it into the corner of my eyes. That's if your makeup look allows for it, of course. Usually you'll either have eyeshadow already put there, or maybe if you just want a little bit of an extra highlight, you can pop some in, as long as it's appropriate for your makeup look. I also like to do a little bit underneath my eyebrows. Alright, so I've done the rest of my makeup, and I am at the very end of the process. The very last step you always want to make sure you do is to add a good setting spray. Just find one that is marketed towards being strong holding, long wearing, 24 hours, whatever the case may be, something that's marketed towards keeping your makeup in place. I'm going to go ahead and spray this. You want to make sure you cover your whole face, and again, this is the very last step, so if you need to make any tweaks to your makeup, you need to do that before setting spray, because adding it after is going to kind of mess things up and pull some products up. You also want to make sure you're not scrunching your face while you're doing it, because then you're going to be setting in those creases in your face. I'm going to go ahead and take my setting spray and make sure I do a nice coat over my whole face. And then I hold my breath for a few seconds after to make sure I'm not inhaling it. Some setting sprays are wetter than others. They'll leave your face wet for a couple minutes. You either need to fan it off, use one of those hand fans or whatever to make sure that it dries completely before you start moving or doing anything else with your makeup. Hopefully you've made it this far through the video and you've learned a thing or two. I'm going to go over my quick little checklist for you to go over to make sure that your base makeup is set and ready for your performance. So first, skin prep. Gotta make sure you wash and moisturize. Make sure you apply a good primer to make sure that everything is layered on nicely. Then you want to make sure you add your foundation on. It matches your skin tone and it's blended all the way through your hairline and down to your chin and neck. Then you want to make sure you put on your concealer, let it sit, then blend it out. Make sure you're putting on your blush and bronzer, layering it in a way that will make it A, make it stay longer, and B, show up well from far distances. You want to make sure you have your brows that are filled in and looking nice. You want to make sure you apply your powder around the areas that aren't set with other powder products, especially in areas where you get extra oily. You want to make sure you apply your highlighter on the points of your face where light naturally hits. And then lastly, you want to make sure you use a good setting spray. All right guys, thank you so much. Hopefully you learned something new, and if you have any questions, let me know. Bye.